What's up, guys? Benny. Don't ever let them tell you your voice doesn't matter. It does. More important than ever is this chat. And we've been listening to you and asking the questions like, is Dan Bongino still employed at the FBI? He said he was going to quit unless Pam Bondi was thrown out. But it turns out that Dan is employed at the FBI and that the process of disclosures, special counsels, ladies and gentlemen, and the full force of the federal government releasing the Epstein files has now hit a fever pitch inside of the administration. And President Trump just made a massive announcement moments ago that will change absolutely everything. I'm not sure that he wanted to make this announcement. It doesn't seem like he's in a particularly good mood about Epstein today. But nonetheless, here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, just a few days ago, some people lambasted us for hopium and copium by calling our federal law enforcement sources, people at the very top, who told us, listen, you should expect more disclosures on Epstein. There's been a dramatic change in approach. Very powerful people inside the administration are pushing for a special counsel, full press briefings on Epstein findings, and so on. And this is because of our voices that cannot be ignored. Power to the people. Some haters said, you're just making this up, or you're stupid, or again, you just drinking the Kool-Aid. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody might be eating crow very soon because our sources were impeccable and we were right. Turns out that the next 24 hours yielded not only the Speaker of the House calling for the full release of all the Epstein files and calling onto the mat Pam Bondi, saying that she's mishandling all of this. You need to be honest with the American people. That came actually via our show. But also dozens of members of Congress calling for Ghislaine Maxwell to testify, Ghislaine Maxwell's family saying that we're willing to testify and that we want all evidence released and that the government's hiding the evidence. Okay, positive movement there. Trump saying twice that he wants the DOJ to release the credible files. All right, well, we'll take the positive movement in that direction. And growing calls for a special counsel, bipartisan support, and massive cultural exposure for satanic predator elites. Ladies and gentlemen, this followed on the heels of us being in the United States Capitol yesterday, asking questions about this to powerful members of Congress. Lauren Boebert has tens of millions of followers on social media, and she says we need a special counsel right now. It should be Matt Gaetz, in fact, who can lead the special counsel. Ladies and gentlemen, lo and behold, as of reporting this very second, President Trump, in an interview that is about to be dropped later today, has said, I will appoint a special counsel. President Trump is floating the idea of naming a special counsel to probe the DOJ's handling of the secret plea deal with Jeffrey Epstein, abusing underage girls. Prior DOJ report found that the prosecutor exercised poor judgment and but didn't strike a sweetheart deal. Interesting. But he did, in fact. Jeffrey Epstein got the deal of a lifetime. And all of his other friends got to skate free. All of the predators, and this was before Trump was in office. This was when Trump was a TV host. This was in 2007 and 2008. And then in 2005, when Jeffrey Epstein was let off the hook by Robert Mueller. They had Jeffrey Epstein dead to rights in 2005 with 50 underage girls that he was abusing. And the FBI let him off because he started feeding the FBI information. Our federal agencies are just totally evil. That's probably what's being protected here. Obviously, the intel element is what's being protected, right? The institutions themselves will be destroyed by this, but let them burn, as far as I'm concerned. Just in, President Trump is floating the idea of naming a special counsel to investigate the Epstein case. Special counsel investigations into non-prosecution agreement and overall handling of the Epstein case may well go a long way to restore the trust in the Trump administration. I think it's perhaps the only way out at this point. Do you support the idea of a special counsel? People in D.C. that don't like special counsels because, well, you never know what they're going to find, right? Steve Bannon breaking this news with John Solomon, who just interviewed President Trump himself.
Finished an interview with the president. I know you're going to play it in its entirety without commercial interruption at 6 o'clock on your show on Real America's Voice that follows the War Room. Can you give us a couple of just headlines? Because I'm sure it's, knowing John Solomon, it's got some big scoops in it.
Thank you. Yeah, listen, he was just very candid, very open, very detailed, very focused Let's start with the big thing. He clearly learned in the last few days about the grand conspiracy case that Kash Patel at the FBI opened. He embraced it. He said, I like it. It's a good approach. I didn't know about it until you reported on it, and I shouldn't need to know about it. But it's the right approach of looking at the last decade of going after conservatives as a criminal conspiracy. He said he was open to a special prosecutor. And he said that special prosecutor should just take a look at Epstein and make sure there's nothing there to give the American public a little more latitude, a little more confidence that we're not hiding anything. I'm not hiding anything. We have nothing to hide. But if he wants to look at anything legitimate, there. So I think the president's behind the special prosecutor, behind going after the last decade as a criminal conspiracy to use the judicial system to punish political enemies, and also to keep his hands off it. He said, this is in Pam and Kash's hands. They do the work, but I like the idea from what you reported. I thought that was big.
So that is big. President Trump is I guess, open to and is openly talking about with John Solomon, who's an excellent reporter, a special prosecutor to look into Epstein and to make sure that there was no wrongdoing there. Let's keep listening.
Wants the American public to stay focused on the tariffs and the securing of the country. At one point, he said, listen, if I find out who's behind the attacks on ICE, who's coordinating this, who is behind George Floyd and the riots, I'm going to designate them a terrorist organization. That is a big proclamation. He's thinking about big issues. I think he's frustrated by all the social media chatter from people who don't really know what's in the Epstein files. And he was very pointed about that. Let's stay focused on the things that matter to the American people. I want the answers to Epstein like everyone, he said. So let the prosecutor do that.
So he's on board with the situation of getting a special prosecutor and having the Epstein situation put into that, so that can be formally looked at.
Anything legitimate that should be looked at.
And really in a criminal context.
He volunteered it, by the way, Steve. You know, I ask about the special, he immediately volunteers and then I follow up on it. But he immediately brings up Epstein. Like, just throw that in. Let's get it all answered. I got nothing to hide. I want truth and I want prosecutions. And I just want the justice system to take care of what needs to be taken care of. It was really a remarkable moment.
Since you're an expert in this, Tom Fenton, myself, Mike Davis, others have been discussing this because the courts have backed up President Trump's Article 2 powers. They have backed him up so far as commander-in-chief and what he's trying to do, expel.
Yep.
They have backed him up in two historic rulings, one on the State Department and really USAID, that part of it, and yesterday with the Department of Education to say, do it. I think it's a huge tool along with this special prosecutor in this criminal conspiracy investigation to really take down the deep state. But is he thinking of that the special prosecutor, which we argue for, should report to the office of the president? Or are you saying you think he's going to say, hey, let Pam and DOJ let him report to them?
I think he'll use the mechanism that's currently in the law. Listen, what's really interesting about the president, he doesn't, unlike Joe Biden, who wanted his finger in the dirty drink to go after Donald Trump, right? The White House 6, the National Archives. Donald Trump's like, I trust the system. I trust the people I got in there to get this done. Sure, we made a few missteps here and there, but I believe we can do this in the current law and do it right without any politics, just with the facts and the evidence. And I just want the American people to have the truth. And if someone committed a crime to be prosecuted, it's really remarkable how hands-off the president is in terms of, I don't want to meddle with the system. I just know the right thing for the American people is transparency, accountability, and then let's shrink this government so it's not in our face anymore going forward.
I love this position. This is obviously the right position to be in now. We didn't ask for this. We didn't release the memo. If it were to be done 1,000 times over, I would argue that this is the worst conceivable way to have handled this Epstein issue. There are so many permutations of this that would have been, I think, more respectful to the dialogue and would have not perhaps led to the nuclear radioactive meltdown that the issue has turned into. But now with the questions at hand, you've sort of forced the issue, and not because of us, but because of the administration's handling it. And so good. Again, this is a positive response. President Trump preparing to appoint a special counsel to investigate DOJ's secret plea deal shielded Jeffrey Epstein from serious punishment. Trump reportedly does want arrests made, even if public statements says otherwise. Very interesting. So he's on board with a special prosecutor, Solomon. He immediately volunteered it and then followed up on it. But he immediately brought up Epstein and is just like, let's throw that into it. Let's get it all answered. Nothing to hide. I want the truth. Well, that's the message. Man, that's the message. Trump was clearly still very upset about this on Truth Social. He's calling the Epstein files BS. He said that before. And then he's saying people that care about this are weaklings. He's like, I think the president is frustrated in all of this. And you've probably read it, but he connects the Epstein. What this is he's connecting the Epstein hoax to other hoaxes. Okay. The only reason that we know any of these hoaxes are hoaxes is because we released all the evidence. So if that is in fact true, then let's release the evidence. It was only proper investigations and question asking that allowed us to see that they were all hoaxes. So that's fine. Granted. Now let's release all the evidence. Got it. And it seems like a pretty natural course then. But what happened initially with all of the other hoaxes, whether it's the 51 laptop or whatever, is the federal government said, believe us. Here's the official story. Believe us. And it's not the official story. And that's what's happening here. So let's follow the course, get the investigations going, and get the evidence out, right? Man, okay, I guess it's changing. Matt Gaetz, a special prosecutor? Why the hell not, right? Boebert Sparks backs special counsel, wants Gaetz to lead it. We deserve the truth about the Epstein files, and I'm ready for special counsel. Matt Gaetz, how about you? That's right. We've had many experts on the show calling for special counsel. Why the hell not? President Trump says people demanding Jeffrey Epstein files be released are stupid and foolish. But then President Trump goes on to defend his attorney general, saying that it was a Democrat hoax. Again, my argument here is you're welcome to prove that. The only way to prove that it's a Democrat hoax is then to just show us the work, right? Show us your work. So much of this really is spawned out of the federal government not showing the work. But I think that this clearly a special counsel. This would clearly show positive movement, right, towards reconciliation on this issue. Even though President Trump clearly wants people to be focused on other things. This I can understand. There's a lot of huge successes in the administration. I cheer them on with regularity. It's just this is a blind spot. Which one of Trump's staff is giving him this information about Epstein? The spies within. Sort of it's saying that there's people who are trying to make Trump look bad on this stuff, and I don't know. I guess I don't disagree with him, because it just seems to be. It seems to be that he is. Your personnel is policy, right? That's what they always say in D.C. And so the people that you have around you is just how you're going to govern. President Trump, he's just one man. He can't do absolutely everything. He needs to depend on the people around him, to test the waters and to test the vibes and the energy of the movement, the moment, and advise him correctly. And many people are asking right now, where's he getting this advice from? A special counsel would be great advice. We totally encourage that and endorse it. And why the hell not? Matt Gaetz. That would be pretty great. Yeah. What do you think about that, ladies and gentlemen? Special counsel? Let me know. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. And remember, your voice is very, very powerful.